Love of the Irish. This was Hallmark's new movie released last Saturday. Not a particularly remarkable name. I know I had to keep looking it up just while I was jotting down my notes on this one. What did stand out for me though is that this movie has two stories of nearly equal measure going on for both a mother and daughter who take an impromptu trip to Ireland hoping to find something or someone.
Aren't you curious?
Now, it wasn't all that long ago that Hallmark aired 'Tis the Season to be Irish, so was it too soon to revisit the same place and try again? Perhaps there were some similarities, but there is a scene in here that had me reaching for the tissues again, in a good way. So what's it all about? That's what we'll talk about in today's recap and review of Hallmark's Love of the Irish. Hi, I'm Stephanie, and welcome to the Magical Movie Club. Today we're talking about Love of the Irish. I feel like we've seen a movie like that set in Ireland not too long ago. 'Tis the Season to be Irish aired in November, and I remember for the most part that one felt kind of gloomy. What's funny about this one is I can't seem to remember the title. There's nothing particularly notable about it, so I was hoping the movie itself had something inspiring or fun to make it more memorable or enjoyable. Let's see. The movie opens in New York, where Fiona, played by Shenae Grimes-Beech, is working as a server for a catering company. She has a habit of turning around with her tray without looking first, and will soon learn that she blames this on bad luck.
That was close.
Personally, I would disagree with that. In my opinion, she just needs to learn to be more aware of her surroundings. However, what happens next, I would agree, is just plain rotten luck.
Any signs of Sarah? Guess she's a no-show.
She finds out her co-worker, who was supposed to cover the next shift for her, she never showed up, and Fiona was depending on her so that she could head over to an audition for a ballet. Unfortunately, her boss is extremely demanding.
Of course, which is why I worked a double last Tuesday and then again on Thursday.
Which could explain why the co-worker left her hanging. But now Fiona's left to make a tough decision.
Leave now, and that once-in-a-lifetime opportunity will turn into a job search.
Next, we head over to her mother's shop, Helen's Antiques, where she's dealing with a burst pipe from the unit above.
Yeah, pipe rupture.
Now, some might think that this is another example of bad luck, but I would argue that this was spectacular timing because we all know that this movie is not set in New York.
Well, I gotta close the shop for the next 2 weeks, so what do you think?
And what a better excuse to be able to up and leave her shop unattended for a while. But I know I'm getting ahead of myself here. As I'm sure you've probably guessed, Fiona goes to the audition. We don't get to see any dancing though. I'm a little disappointed about that. But I was happy to see Ali Liebert make a small appearance in this movie.
Everyone else, thanks so much.
As you can see, Fiona didn't get a callback. And by the way, she blames that on bad luck too. Meanwhile, her mother is working on an antique clock back at the shop when she finds a plate on the back with an Irish inscription, which translated means it's not too late. This is significant because ordinarily a mother's role in a Hallmark movie is just to support the main character.
What do you think the medieval Zillow estimate is on a place like this?
2 villages and a magic bean.
But that's not the case here. We'll soon learn that Helen's story is almost as significant as Fiona's. This inscription prompts her to pull out an old letter. We just don't know anything about it yet. Just then Fiona shows up, feeling sorry for herself.
Oh, just my usual luck working its gloriously depressing magic.
And when her mother steps into the kitchen for a moment, Fiona finds the letter.
From your mother, MJ.
It turns out her mother was adopted, and she's had this letter from her biological mother for many, many years, but she never responded.
I struck gold with your grandparents. I didn't want to risk ruining that.
So what does any good unemployed daughter do next?
Operation Mother-Daughter trip is officially a go, and our flight
She takes her mother on a surprise trip to Ireland the very next morning.
in this tiny seaside village called Ballymore. We're going to Ireland, baby.
She did book a quaint little cottage that kind of reminded me a bit of the one that Rose fixed up in 'Tis the Season to be Irish. After they've settled in, the first person they meet in town is a small business owner named Daisy selling, well, guess what? Flowers. That was a little too obvious a choice, but she was super sweet.
Speaking of festivals, there's a Kaylee in a few days. Yeah, you won't want to miss it.
Actually, before we move on, I want to backtrack just a little bit. Fiona's character always complained about having bad luck, and so far, just 12 minutes into the movie, I feel like they were forcing it on us a little too blatantly. Let's see, there was the audition that didn't go her way, then the flight experience,
I was stuck next to Mr. Garlic Breath with the kid behind me who thought my hair was a plaything.
the leprechaun toy,
Oh, look at this funny little guy.
and then going up and rolling some random stranger's dice outside of a pub.
You might want to work on that look of yours.
Story of my life.
Anyway, they decide to go check out this local pub called O'Brien, which is where we meet Liam.
I was the darts king of this fine establishment.
And let's see you defend your throne, Your Majesty.
Notice they immediately give a nod here to another popular Hallmark Christmas movie that he made years ago with Lacey Chabert. Now this is where the meet cute happens. And well, I'll let you decide what to think of this one when Liam trips and accidentally bumps into Fiona at the pool table.
Hey!
Apologies, I lost my foot.
Let's just say the bickering continues for a while.
Do they not teach personal space in Ireland?
You show me how to make a burger that doesn't require dislocating my jaw.
And it finishes up with this little number. I'm actually pointing this out because it turns out this is the only dance performance we'll get to see in the whole movie. Well, the next day, Fiona sets off to try to find her mother's birth mother, while her mother, Helen, goes off riding.
Post office, here I come.
And kind of like the last Irish movie I keep talking about, I was already feeling like every other sentence was some deep, profound old Irish saying.
An Irish blessing straight from the heavens.
Don't get me wrong, I enjoy it to a point, but also, could they have been any more obvious with this conversation, considering the reason her mother was there in the first place?
Trying to bridge the gap between the past and the present, to connect with what's lost or left behind.
The flow of events didn't feel quite natural enough to me so far. That's all.
I didn't think New Yorkers were that gullible.
Again, like this next scene, for example, Fiona shows up at the post office, and conveniently, the woman who runs it is out sick. And guess who helps out from time to time?
Excuse me? You gotta be kidding me.
Well, it does give them a chance to have somewhat of a normal conversation and get acquainted with one another.
Well, if there is a Lady Luck, she's got me on Do Not Disturb.
Which means even more talk about being Irish and how important luck seems to be in that culture.
Well, you can't be all bad luck then.
Tell that to the 3 elevators that I've been trapped in.
So Liam takes her on a tour of the island on a quest to help her find some good Irish luck.
Each ribbon represents a wish or a hope someone's casting into the future.
Not gonna lie, I feel like I've seen this story before.
You ready?
What?
Make a wish.
To make a wish?
However, I do have to hand it to him. I didn't see this coming.
I wish I had better luck.
Also, as however unlikely this next scene may be, it does signal the beginning of something finally happening in this movie. Back at the post office, Liam couldn't find any contact information for Fiona's biological grandmother, but he did find something else.
It does have her place of employment. How's that for luck?
Is that typically something you'd look up at a post office? I'm not going to dwell on that though, because I personally found her mother's story more interesting to follow than Fiona's. By the way, isn't this absolutely beautiful? Wow. Well, remember how Liam found out where her biological grandmother worked?
And she has spent the last 8 years working as a tour guide at a historic manor.
Yeah, she's a tour guide, and the look on Helen's face here says it all. It gave me a little bit of the chills, actually. As it turns out, though, she took off.
How did it feel?
It was overwhelming.
Fortunately, the next scene was much more uplifting and fun. Okay, fun might be a stretch. It was the festival, or what do they call it? A ceilidh? They actually showed us a potato peeling contest.
And on my mark, go!
Oh, and you know what? I need to correct myself. Earlier, I said that a dart throw that she made with a twirl was all the dancing we'd see from Fiona. Well, she does dance a little bit here at the festival.
Ready? We're in.
Not quite what I was hoping for, though. She wants to be a performer, and okay, maybe I'm getting ahead of myself again. By the way, I haven't mentioned it yet, but Liam also has a daughter. She's been fascinated with Fiona ever since she made that twirl with the dart at the beginning of the movie.
Holy cow, it's you, isn't it? The dart dancer from last night?
Well, Fiona has agreed to teach her some dancing techniques.
Feet in first position, arms in first. Okay, you are...
For the rest of the movie, Fiona and Liam spend more time together. No surprise there. She finds out about his secret stash of beer that he doesn't sell at the pub.
Pride and Porter.
Rich, dark, little bitter, but finishes sweet.
And this is where she asks him to show her all the places on the island to find secret stashes of luck.
You kidding? There's tons.
Would you mind showing me some?
Like touring a lighthouse,
Oh my.
viewing the stars,
It's like a canvas with no end.
oh, and on her way home that night, her luck does change when she happens to find a vacant dance studio that's up for auction. So I just have to ask, was this a sign of luck changing, or was this all just too convenient? I guess that's up for interpretation. But they did put together a cute little montage of them exploring the island a little bit more. Meanwhile, back to the good story. Helen musters up the courage to go talk to her mother. She doesn't tell her who she is yet, but she does have a really nice conversation with her. It was so sweet.
Hello there. Oh, hi. I'm so sorry.
And it just so happens her mother recently acquired an antique gardening table and needs Helen's help to fix it up. Well, as we near the end of the movie, there are actually two critical moments. I'm sure you already see them coming. One is when Fiona tells Liam that she's leaving because, well, I'll tell you. She gets a call back for that ballet production she wanted.
It's down to me and one other dancer. For which part? Giselle!
And then, and this was actually so well done, Helen finally tells her mother who she is.
I should have reached out sooner. I really didn't want to write you back.
Wow, I got all choked up when I watched these two performances. But I wasn't moved as much by Fiona and Liam, and I wanted to be. Maybe it was this scene.
And good luck ritual in hopes of finally shaking off the cloud and turning my luck around for good, hence throwing the coal at you.
Of course, I'm glad that they too got their happy ending, but we never once got to see a performance.
Village just got a new dance teacher. I thought maybe you could help me find my first student.
And that was a little bit of a letdown for me. And do you know what? I don't know if I've ever mentioned this before, but I typically watch a movie one day and then take the next 24 hours to reflect or even sleep on it before I jot down any of my thoughts. It's funny how things that stand out the next day are not always what I expect. And this time, I found myself thinking all about Helen's story with her mom. Now, I was also thinking about how we were left with so many unanswered questions here. The most important being, why did she give up her baby for adoption all those years ago? How many other children should she have later? There are just so many unanswered questions. And if I'm being completely honest with myself, I never really gave Fiona and Liam another thought. So I'm giving this one a 3. I might watch it again just to see the scenes between Helen and her mom.
So we're kindred spirits. Oh, come on, let me show you how I play with time.
What about you? Were you captivated by all the Irish beauty and the different places they searched around the island seeking hidden stashes of luck? Were you happy with Fiona's choice at the end?
Bye. And remember, no pirouettes in the street.
Or was their story a little too slow moving for you? As always, feel free to share your own thoughts about the movie below. Next week, I'm planning to watch 2 new movies. Polar Opposites on Hallmark starring Rhiannon Fish, and A Snapshot of Forever on Great American Family. I'll probably decide which one to review after I've had a chance to watch them both. So if you're interested in finding out, please consider subscribing to the channel so that you'll be alerted when the next video comes out, and it means a lot to me as well. Thank you so much for being here, and I look forward to next week where we'll chat more about our favorite magical movies.
This side.